Errornomics, Why We Make Mistakes and What We Can Do to Avoid Them by Joseph T. Hallinan is a sharp, engaging, and sometimes humorous dive into the everyday errors that plague human decision-making. Blending behavioral economics, psychology, and real-world anecdotes, Hallinan aims to show why our brains are wired for error, and how we can better understand and anticipate those flaws. The book is not a dry academic treatise. It's a lively tour of human fallibility that touches everything from healthcare to shopping, memory to motivation. At its heart, Errornomics is about the patterns behind our blunders and the hidden logic behind our lapses. Hallinan begins by asserting that mistakes are not anomalies, they are the norm. People make errors not because they're lazy or incompetent, but because the brain evolved in a way that prioritizes speed over precision. In today's complex world, this cognitive shortcut system often leads to mismatches. We make fast decisions based on limited cues, relying on heuristics that worked well in simpler environments but frequently fail us in modern life. Hallinan sets out to explore how these shortcuts influence our choices, often without us realizing it. A major theme of the book is the illusion of attention. Hallinan explores how we frequently miss obvious details, like the famous, invisible gorilla, experiment, because we're wired to focus selectively. This selective attention helps us manage cognitive overload but can lead to critical blind spots. Whether it's a surgeon missing a key detail during an operation or a driver not noticing a pedestrian, Hallinan underscores how dangerous this illusion can be, especially when we're convinced we're paying full attention. Hallinan also delves into the role of habit and routine in error-making. While habits save mental energy, they can also lull us into complacency. He describes how professionals, like airline pilots or doctors, can make catastrophic mistakes simply because their routines are interrupted or subtly altered. These normal actions, done in the wrong context, can have devastating consequences. Hallinan emphasizes that error often arises not from ignorance, but from familiarity. We stop thinking carefully because we believe we already know. Memory, another major focus, is portrayed as both a marvelous and maddening faculty. Hallinan explains that our memories are not fixed records but malleable constructions. We fill in gaps, forget key facts, and sometimes remember things that never happened. He draws on research showing how people misremember prices, conversations, and even their own actions, highlighting how easily memory errors can skew judgment and fuel false confidence. One of the more surprising parts of the book examines how incentives, whether financial or psychological, can lead people astray. For example, sales tactics that exploit scarcity or urgency push consumers to make irrational purchases. Similarly, overconfidence bias, fueled by praise or success, can blind people to risk. Hallinan connects these patterns to systemic issues, showing how flawed incentive structures in medicine or business contribute to repeated mistakes, often with widespread consequences. Hallinan has a gift for storytelling, and many of his case studies are drawn from real events: plane crashes, botched surgeries, failed product launches. These stories are not just cautionary tales, they're dissected to reveal the deeper mechanisms behind them. In doing so, Hallinan makes clear that error isn't random. There's a method to the madness, and by studying that method, we can predict and prevent some of our most common failures. An especially compelling chapter focuses on the problem of overconfidence. Hallinan explains how people routinely overestimate their abilities, knowledge, and control over outcomes. This self-delusion is particularly dangerous in high-stakes fields like finance or law enforcement. He explores how even experts fall victim to this bias, citing studies that show professionals often perform no better than chance when asked to make predictions in their own field. Hallinan doesn't just explain why we fail, he offers strategies for failing less. One such strategy is building systems that reduce reliance on memory and instinct. Checklists, for example, are simple tools that dramatically reduce error rates in hospitals and aviation. By externalizing information, these tools act as cognitive guardrails, keeping people from falling into familiar traps. Hallinan advocates for more humility in design and decision-making: assume error, plan for it, and design systems that protect against it. Another approach he recommends is deliberate slowing down. Many mistakes happen under time pressure, when people rely too heavily on instinct. Hallinan suggests creating intentional pauses, moments to review, verify, and reflect. This could be as simple as asking a colleague to double-check your work, or as structured as a pre-mortem exercise before a major decision. These small shifts, he argues, can make a big difference. Cultural factors also play a role in how errors are made and corrected. Hallinan notes that in some organizations, admitting mistakes is taboo, which discourages learning and perpetuates dysfunction. By contrast, in environments where errors are openly discussed, feedback is encouraged, and blame is minimized, people become more alert, collaborative, and thoughtful. He emphasizes the importance of creating psychological safety, where people can acknowledge error without fear of retribution. Hallinan is clear-eyed about the limits of error prevention. No matter how well we prepare, some mistakes are inevitable. What matters is how we respond to them. The most resilient individuals and organizations are not those that avoid all errors, but those that adapt quickly and learn deeply from them. This requires curiosity, openness, and a willingness to challenge assumptions, traits that can be cultivated with practice and intention. In the final chapters, Hallinan connects the study of mistakes to the broader human condition. To err is human, he reminds us, but so is the desire to improve. He discusses the evolutionary roots of trial and error, how mistakes have led to innovation and adaptation. Far from being a flaw, our tendency to stumble and course-correct is part of what drives progress. Mistakes, in this view, are not just failures, they're feedback. The book ends on a hopeful note. While we can't eliminate error, we can change our relationship to it. Instead of seeing mistakes as shameful, Hallinan encourages readers to see them as opportunities for insight. By understanding the predictable ways we go wrong, we gain the power to anticipate, mitigate, and sometimes even leverage those mistakes. The goal isn't perfection, but awareness, a form of psychological intelligence that helps us move through a complicated world with greater clarity. Errornomics is ultimately a celebration of thoughtful imperfection. Hallinan doesn't moralize or preach, he invites readers to take a second look at their assumptions, trust their fallibility, and build better habits for thinking, deciding, and living. In a culture obsessed with being right, his message is refreshing and necessary. It's not about never being wrong, it's about learning how to be wrong better.